All right, everybody, we got a tough one today. Hello, Zoch C, and welcome to your deck review. This is a series where I, Maultown, normally a short form commander jester, will try to help you with your commander deck and its weird malformed PP. Your PP being your premise and your practicum. Your premise is the idea behind your deck, it's what you hope it can do. For this, it is I want to play every spell shaper in Magic, and I want to have it do something good. And your practicum is the stuff actually in the deck, which for this deck is every spell shaper in Magic, I think, and something bad. The main problem we're having is, of course, spell shapers sucks. So how have we tried to get around that? We've tried to get around it by playing a bunch of madness cards. That's not a bad idea, and honestly, Zoch, this isn't your fault. This is Wizards of the Coast fault for not printing better spell shapers and for not printing better madness cards. But I do think this deck has a core conflict, which is we're right now playing it in bracket one because it is weak enough for bracket one, but by intent, it is not bracket one. Like we are taking a mechanical grouping in Magic and trying to make it as good as it can possibly be. That is that that's like bracket three, bracket four mindset, actually. We just don't have the shit to get there. So I'm going to try to help us resolve this some way, somehow. But I am sympathetic to your plight. I am down with, like, yeah, we want card draw in the command zone. We only have 15 spell shapers. We got to get them some way, somehow. Uh, but God, guys, if you don't know how bad spell shapers are, we have make make a card into Dark Ritual, make a card into Fog, make a card into Demonic Consultation. Holy shit, actually. That's kind of hot. Um, make something unblockable. Make somebody discard cards equal to the mana we dump into it. Get a basic land to hand, not even to field. Destroy a blue permanent, deal 3 damage. Destroy a land. Destroy a non-black creature. This one's like more okay. But some of these are very, very bad. And even the ones that are somewhat useful, they are useful for control strategies, which I think is another really, really bad thing to have happen in bracket one. Like, bracket one is we are playing show and tell. One of us might win the game, but the whole point of the bracket is to have decks that are not dedicated to winning the game. They are dedicated to showing off something in Magic. And like, you do that, but the consequence of what you do is you unshow off everything that they are doing, which feels very bad. And I think it only gets worse once we start looking at all the madness cards, because most of the madness and the mayhem cards are removal. They're removal. It is I make somebody discard. We have a reanimate, which is cool, but it's back to destroy a creature, soft board wipe, make somebody discard something. Um, Hell yeah, two black zombies. I love 2/2/2s. I love 4. So we've got a real issue here. And that is compounded by the fact that off dome, I can't think of a way to make spell shapers feel special other than this. I can't think of other ways to make discard matter. You know, um there are plenty of things that can make discard matter. You already have Monument to Endurance, you have Crypt Caller Chariot. We could slam in Waste Not. We could slam in, I think, Bone Miser is the creature version of Waste Not. That's still only 4 copies, and I still don't think there's a lot of other stuff that is me discarding matters goodly. And after that, the only things we could do is we could try to make this a deck that's trying to build up like a big Mizzix's Mastery, or do Reanimation, right? We could do Jund Reanimator deck where all of my discard outlets are spell shapers, but the spell shapers are just a stepping stone, right? The focus is never on them. And in this deck, I think at least, like, they are the gears that turn the machine. You know, they are the highlight. They're the star of the show. The star is just not very bright. So what I kind of want to do first is look at if there is enough discard matter stuff. I'm not even gonna look at link to your colors. I'm gonna focus on like, could we get enough things? Archfiend of Ifnir would be devastating. We have Monument to Endurance. This is opponent's graveyard. Fuck, Waste Not cares about opponents discarding. We can't even do that. Bone Miser cares about us discarding. Glinthorn would turn it into 1 additional damage, which is really not enough. This is opponent discard, opponent discard. Library of Lang really doesn't save us. Thoroughly Badgesaur does help. That's like generic value. Currency Converter could give us some generic value. This is just another Madness card. Conspiracy Theorist lets us play them, but this is really just like I give everything Madness equal to its mana cost, and because if this could go in the command zone, I would do that, and then I would try to make a deck that was real, but we can't do that. Mary Reed and Anna Tap Treasure is really not really not something. Marauding Mako does care. Evora cares. Riel cares. Wharf Infiltrator cares. So there's a few blue things that care. Could we make this Grixis? Because I'm not seeing either Grixis or 4 colors. Because I'm not seeing very much green that cares about us discarding something. But I'm seeing some blue stuff that we currently do not utilize. Oh, Lazatep Chancellor cares about us discarding. Scry 1, Jesus God. Okay. Feast of Sanity technically cares about us discarding. Faith of the Devoted cares. Yeah, looking at these, I think the rough bit is, can we make this deck care more about discard as a way to proactively win the game versus just spamming removal over and over and over? We can. Is that good enough to escape bracket 1? Probably not. This deck probably still ends in the win condition of like, oh hey, well I care about a creature type, and look at me, I purchased a copy of Chronicle of Victory, and I name Spell Shapers. They have First Strike, Trample, +2/+2. I hope I can kill you now because I've removed all your other creatures, and that's really not satisfying. I'm trying to imagine if there is how many Spell Shapers are there in all of Magic? I'm trying to find a way out of this hole. Not Shell Shaper. Thank you very much. 57. Okay. Wait, that's crazy. We don't have Llanowar Mentor in the deck? No, we do. We do. I can't read. We don't have Joel Rael, Empress of Beasts? You don't wanna board wipe yourself? God damn. You are doing the Lord's work, man. This is tough. Okay, Silverglade Pathfinder at least puts it into play. That's something. Fuck, we have it already. Fuck! All of the ones that are something. Okay, so this makes a 1/1. Tap stuff. I'm trying to like imagine shit that can work together. Cause like Trickster Mage, okay, what does Trickster Mage work with? Trickster Mage kind of works with Insight Engine. Because we can untap it and we'll draw more. I'm also trying to think of ways of how do we keep your hand full enough to keep discarding stuff. And I'm mostly thinking, how in God's name do I get you to bracket 2? Because I think that's where we want to be. We want to be in the promised land of bracket 2. Okay, we have this, which can make 2/1/1s. This is only damage to a creature. This bounces something we control to hand, which is basically nothing. That is worthless. This is another removal spammer. Worthless life gain, worthless life gain. Not a good enough banner. I mean, Alexi kind of does a little control. Stronghold Machine is actually kind of good. Being able to turn anything into negate is actually the closest to okay I have seen from any of these, but we are still. And I've used Dreamscape Artist in actual decks before, but I think we are continuing to circle around the drain of if we were to expand our colors to fit more spell shapers in, I do not think at any point we unlock actual deep synergy. I think all we do is increase the spell shaper count such that doing something like Chronicle of Victory becomes technically better because now there are more of them to buff. And I think that is still at its heart deeply unsatisfying, but in the same breath I am almost unwilling to recommend like better card draw engines, better ramp engines, because like bracket 1 is not the place to be playing Dark Confidant. Right? Bracket 1 is not and I presume you know this, and it's why its tutors aren't in there, and why tutors aren't in there. But like, bracket 1 is not the place for generic good stuff that is not a deep, deep part of my existing synergy. And so I think you may kind of be left with. You may be left a little bit with just a deck that should not be, like stuck in this cursed half-life between I have a bracket 1 practicum and a bracket 2 premise. I think the best we could do would be. I don't think haste enablers are worth it, quite frankly, especially in bracket 1. But I would bring in the other things we can play that care about the discarding we're doing. So like Marauding Mako, Evora, Surly Badgersaur, Bone Miser. These can be things that double dip on what the spell shapers are doing. They don't really do anything unless we are spell shaping, and so the spell shapers still get to be the star of the show. Archfiend of Ifnir, though, that's too rude by half, I think, especially for bracket 1. These other things, at least they do something relatively inoffensive, but God, is it tough. Um, and Riel would be fun, but I think Winter's just better, right? Everybody drawing 2 is just better than getting the one card I discard to spell shape, turning into a draw trigger for Riel. Like, how do we even. What even happens when we play this? All right, we have a spell shaper. We can turn stuff into mana dorks, and we have a discard outlet. Okay, I will rock with that. I'm gonna play this on turn 1. On my next turn, I'll play this tapped to fix my mana. I'll scry 1. Don't need you here anymore. I spell shape this. I don't believe in the haste enable. So I spell shape that. I get yeah. That's funny. I get a Llanowar Elf token. Turn 3. I have fucking Blood Crypt. That's crazy. Blood Crypt, 1, 2. 3, 4. Crypt Caller Chariot. Or actually, no, I probably want to go Winter. I go Winter on turn 3. My next turn, everybody has 2 more cards. Now we're getting after it. We Crypt Crawler Chariot, Spell Shape, Sign in Blood because we have our command zone card advantage. Or no, I have enough lands. I'm gonna spell shape away this tapped scry land. I make another Llanowar Elf token, and I make a 2/2 zombie. Huzzah! My next turn, draw more cards. Can I get people to Delirium? I have land, I have enchantment. Shit, I can. I'm gonna Sign in Blood to draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. I'm gonna spell shape Vanquisher's Banner because I want to keep my instant speed interaction up, and I don't want to get rid of either of my spell shapers. That will make me another 2/2, and I get my other Llanowar thing, and then I can drop another spell shaper. So I think like in this playtest, I think we got pretty lucky. We got the spell shaper that makes. Did I read this right? Like, this is worse than I thought. No, it's exactly as good as I thought. We got the spell shaper that makes mana dork, so we have a lot of mana, and we got a thing that gives us board presence for having our spell shapers out. Like, this is good, and this is what we want, and we don't have enough of these effects printed in Commander to make an entire deck. But when you play this out, like particularly if we then went and dropped Chronicle of Victory over the top, you know, naming elves, even whether we named elves or spell shapers, this starts to feel like way too much for a bracket 1 deck to deal with. Like, I can't, like, God forbid I go Vanquisher's Banner, Chronicle of Victory, every spell shaper draws me 3 cards, and they're all 4/4s with first strike and trample minimum. Like, it's way too good at winning the game for bracket 1. And so, like, the only angle I can imagine here is identifying some external restriction we can put on the commander decks you play with in bracket 2 to guarantee that you are at the bottom of bracket 2, because we are playing well below the pre-con level. This is like is pre-con level, and I think it is probably the single best sequence of events the deck could have. Like, we have something to stop combat damage, we have something to continually make bodies that ramp us, we have one of our overrun effects in hand. God, I hate calling that an overrun effect. And we have removal in hand too. Like, this feels rude to do to a bracket 1 player, but I understand that, like, this hand where our spell shaper is just making the worst chump blocker in the history of time, yeah, we don't feel a lot better. We especially don't feel a lot better if we let everybody draw a lot more cards. I'd probably go like land, bam, bam. It just hurts. It just hurts, right? Because we're doing like this. We're making a 1/1 guy. We're madnessing. We're doing 4 damage to one thing on turn 5. We don't have the mana to madness our other thing. We abrade. We shoot somebody's soul ring. And I know it doesn't make elementals, but now this is our whole board presence. So we're we are caught very awkwardly in between the worlds of bracket 1 and bracket 2. My express recommendation would be to try bringing in the more generic good stuff cards. So these would be things like Dark Confidant to keep your hand full, Darkstar Augur also to keep your hand full, because we have to draw just a shitload of these. Bringing in Archfiend of Ifnir, as well as all these other things that care about you discarding cards. You could bring in tutors to find those pieces faster. And that takes it a little bit away from spell shapers, but spell shapers are still the core gear. But when we talk about how do you win the game, the way you win the game is almost certainly going to be you play an overrun effect. Like either you play an overrun effect or you put in like the Flamekin Artillerist. There's a CEDH one that gets played. I think it's like Glinthorn Buccaneer. Yeah, Glinthorn Buccaneer and like Magmakin Artillerist do damage when you discard cards, and you can ping everybody super slowly that way. But I don't think any of the win cons are going to be deeply satisfying. Um, and like I don't build a lot of bracket one decks. I've seen a lot of bracket one decks. I've played a couple bracket one decks that people had lent to me. If you played this shit against me, dog, I would be mad. I would be straight cheesed. Not even trying to rag you because I don't think it's your fault. I think you did the best with what you were given. But the best you can do with what you were given is certainly a deck that tries to win at Magic, and that just ain't bracket one. Um, so support that is the most cuttable to bring the good stuff in. Knight's Whisper, Sign in Blood, Cultivate, Traverse the Ulvenwald. I think it still takes you a while to get Delirium, even though we do have the spell shaping. Um, I think the haste enabling can all go. Maybe keep Rhythm of the Wild. Rhythm of the Wild is the only one I would keep just for the uncounterability and so that you could make their bodies a little bit bigger. I would drop a little bit of the Madness cards. Um, these are not the best options, but I think they're serviceable. And I would drop Crop Sigil. Um, and then I would bring in these 5 cards I talked about. I would bring in Dark Confidant. I would bring in Darkstar Augur. Um, Shadow of the Goblin do anything? I don't think it would. I think Shadow of the Goblin cares about cast from outside hand. Yeah, cast from. Well, okay. That's with all the madness. Maybe we don't cut any of the madness cards, and you bring in Shadow of the Goblin as well, and then we have what, a 6th card that cares about what we're discarding, and then we can make more of like a God's honest attempt, more of a God's honest attempt at bracket 2. There's also a Green Goblin. I think you would like. It's either Green Goblin or Hobgoblin. No, yeah, Green Goblin Revenant. So Flying Death Touch, big hand refill if we have multiple spell shapers, right? Because it will replace all of the cards we have spell shaped. So that's what I would try. I think there is just enough support that we can make an attempt at the stone cold bottom of bracket 2, and it's still going to be pretty rough, but I think you will be happier there than you will be in bracket 1, because at bracket 1, this is like we are approaching schoolyard bully territory, which sucks. But that's what it is. So if anybody in the comments has any sick discard matter synergies that I had not managed to scoop up here, please let us know. But I wish you the best, and I do hope this helps.